Well, good morning. Wow, you guys are really excited. It's great to see you all. It's great to see all the energy and feel the energy in the room. I am Susan Rand King. I am the chair of the Board of Trustees, and I am happy to celebrate the first day of school and officially open the 2022-2023 school year with the Matriculation community meeting. And this is an exciting day. Not only do we welcome back returning students for their second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh year at DS, we embrace our new students. In particular, we applaud the arrival of our newest and youngest members of the community, our sixth graders. So Derryfield, please get on your feet and welcome the class of 2029. All right, what a great group of smiling faces. Class of 2029, we are so happy to have you at Derryfield. Today is the beginning of your incredible journey, and I hope that all of you are excited to embrace the coming year. I encourage every one of you, whether this is your first year or your seventh, to take advantage of the wonderful teachers and the incredible opportunities Derryfield has to offer. For me, this day is exciting for two important reasons. Number one, like you, I attended Derryfield, and I have enjoyed staying connected with the school since I graduated in 1981. And number two, my two children, Sammy and Nate, attended Derryfield. In fact, I just returned last week from dropping them off at college. So Derryfield is a very special place for me and my family. But there's another reason that today is special and historic. Today we recognize Mr. Chappell, our 9th head of school, as he kicks off his first year leading the Derryfield community. I know throughout the year you will have many opportunities to get to know Mr. Chappell, but I'd like to take a moment to tell you a few important facts about him. First of all, he has a dog, a black lab named Colby, and who I'm sure you'll see on the sidelines of the games. His daughter Sam is joining Derryfield in the 11th grade, and at his last school, he was the #1 most requested advisor. He also loves buffalo chicken wings, water skiing, and is ready to talk about Red Sox or Patriots at any time. Mr. Chappell joins Derryfield with experience as a teacher, parent, administrator, leader, advisor, coach, and many more. There are a lot of wonderful things you will learn about Mr. Chappell this year, and I'm confident that Derryfield will welcome him with open arms. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Chappell, our 9th head of school, to share his opening remarks.
Wow, that was very generous applause. Thank you. I'm not sure I deserve it, but I will say I'm very, very happy to be here. Welcome all. Welcome back to school. Mrs. King, faculty, staff, new students, 6th graders, international students, returning students, and of course, the esteemed, wise, impressive class of 2023. Stand up, please. Stand up. Stand up. That's enough, class. I'm honored to be here with you all this morning on the first day of school. As you have heard, this is the matriculation ceremony, the time when we formally welcome all new members, students, faculty, staff, into the Derryfield community. Again, thanks to our board chair, Mrs. King, for welcoming the sixth graders. I know that was a little much probably for you, right? And welcoming and introducing me to all of you, especially the buffalo chicken wings. I like chocolate chips too, if you really want to know. I want you to know that my family and I feel very, very fortunate to be members of the Derryfield community. We have been welcomed very warmly by so many of you these past 5 months, and I am very excited to be here with you this morning to celebrate the start of Derryfield's 58th year. Now, I have something to confess. I'm nervous. I mean, let's get serious. All of you out there and just me up here. This is downright intimidating. What should I say? How should I say it? Will I make a fool of myself? Will I embarrass my daughter, Sam? Well, probably, but that won't be the first time, nor the last. The Dutch philosopher, let's see if I can figure this out. The Dutch philosopher Soren Kierkegaard blessedly offers us some wisdom on this topic. He said, "Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom." Let these words sink in for a moment. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. What does that mean? What does that mean? In the simplest terms, I believe it means that we human beings, we actually need some anxiety in order to grow and develop. Before I go any further, I want to be clear that too much anxiety or repeated and prolonged anxiety doesn't help us grow at all. In fact, we know that it can be detrimental and dangerous. And I want to remind you all that we have resources in place here at Derryfield to help students and adults cope with too much anxiety. But some anxiety, I believe, is just what we need. And Kierkegaard's words helped me understand why that is so. Now, my guess is that many of you, including our sixth graders, probably most especially our sixth graders, are a little nervous today too. But I bet all of us have some nerves. It's the first day of school after all. Some of you are probably wondering, where are the bathrooms? Am I going to fail geometry? Do I have to talk to the new head of school? He seems a little strange. He's talking about being nervous. This leads me to my first message, though. I want you to be authentic. When I learned last fall that Dr. Carter would be moving on from Derryfield to St. Luke's School in Connecticut and that there would be a search for a new head of school here, I began to do my research about Derryfield. I scoured the internet, including the Derryfield website, social media, and YouTube sites, and I found the usual aspirational and inspirational messages which define this community. Quote, "We help students lead lives of passion and purpose," or, quote, "We seek to develop students to be their best, to be dynamic, valued members of any community," unquote. And these are important and inspiring words for sure. But I was especially moved by speeches I found on YouTube as part of the This I Believe segment. The words and inspiring music of countless now alumni, but also music of Mr. Bongiorno and Mr. Hunton, the humor of Mr. Young, the wisdom of Miss Byron, and the reflections of Miss Russell, just to name a few, and countless other speeches left me speechless because of their authenticity, their passion, and their clarity. This sealed the deal for me. I emailed my application materials that night, and luckily here I stand before you today. I knew that I wanted to be a member of the Derryfield community because everything I found pointed to authenticity. Faculty, staff, and students seemed to know who they were. And even more importantly, faculty, staff, and students were willing to admit when they didn't know who they were, when they were trying to figure it out. That is exactly what middle and high school are all about. So if you're nervous, it's okay. I'm trying. I hope you will. Embrace it. That's how you will grow. If you haven't figured out who you are yet, what you want to be, that's okay too. That's why you're here, to figure it all out in this caring, inclusive, joyful, respectful, purposeful, and engaged community of Derryfield. Community is, in fact, the Derryfield core value we will raise up this year. In communities everywhere, including here at Derryfield, the last few years have provided numerous challenges to our ability to maintain and sustain the type of relationships we want, and subsequently to build the community we aim for here at Derryfield. Again, through the interview process, my transition in these last few months, since I started as head of school, I've heard a clear and consistent message from all constituencies. We need a reset. We need a refresh, if you will. Now that we're in a different phase with our friend COVID, one where we must begin to think of the disease more as an endemic rather than a pandemic, we can once again put our focus squarely on what it means to be a member of the Derryfield community. So last spring and over the summer, there have been numerous conversations with adults and students about how best to reset community norms and expectations. And I've been really impressed by how the leadership team, in consultation with student leadership, has looked closely at what was most important to this community before the pandemic and what we believe to be essential and non-negotiable as we start this school year together. Prioritizing kindness and respect, promoting civil discourse, and emphasizing being present with one another have been at the center of these conversations. One of the important ways that we can build community is the way that we gather, as we are today. And community meeting, of course, is our time to gather as an entire community on a regular basis in order to celebrate, learn from, and appreciate one another. It's not working, Tony, huh? There we go. Okay. It is the place where this I believe speeches are delivered, musical and dramatic performances performed beautifully, and all of us can be together as one community, white, and of course my color, maroon. But in addition to community meeting, whether we are in classrooms, hallways, buses, or locker rooms, we must ensure that Derryfield is welcoming, supportive, and an inclusive place for every student, teacher, and staff. We must value the variety of perspectives and talents individuals bring to the school, and I ask that students and adults approach one another with an open heart and mind. In that spirit, I encourage all of you to get to know someone new this year. Maybe it's a classmate or someone in another grade, a teacher or a staff member. Be curious, ask questions, listen, reflect. In doing so, the Derryfield community only stands to become stronger and more empathetic through conversation and shared experiences. Finally, I want to leave you with a challenge. As you all know, I'm new, and I'm working hard to understand what makes Derryfield, Derryfield. So help me by asking yourselves the following questions. What does the Derryfield community mean to you? What does it look like? How does it feel? What makes it unique? How would you describe it to me? So over the course of the next month, your challenge is to offer me some clarity and authenticity about what makes Derryfield Derryfield by doing something or creating something as an advisory group. So for instance, let's see if we can make that happen. Tony's going to help me. For instance, you could create a video, perform a skit, rewrite our school song. I hear that's everyone's favorite. Create a spoken word poetry compilation. Find inspiration from Mr. Blaisdell's Shoe Olympics. Stage a flash mob. Launch a service initiative. Offer a This I Believe speech. I can't wait to see what you come up with, and most importantly, what I will learn about the Derryfield community as a result. Now, I'm going to transition for just a minute and bring us back to the spirit of matriculation. I hope you will join me in welcoming 13 new faculty and staff members to our community. In a minute, I'm going to say their name, ask them to stand up and remain standing until I introduce all 13, and then at the end we will give them a nice, loud, rousing applause. Tierna Benoit. Mr. Benoit, after serving as a vital member of our substitute corps last year, returns this year as an academic skills teacher and assistant to the athletic director. Louisa Burdett. Miss Burdett, having taught English here from 2013 to 2020, returns to Derryfield to serve as the Director of Research and Opportunities. You can find her in the library. Carrie Lynn Calvert. Miss Calvert will be a full-time teacher of Latin this year after teaching 2 Latin courses here last year. Molly Egger. Ms. Egger, after teaching in Florida the past few years, comes to Derryfield to teach history, and many of you have already met her through her coaching of crew this fall as well as in the spring. Christina Gurney. Ms. Gurney comes to Derryfield this year to teach some upper school math courses. Diane Houghton Summers. Ms. Houghton Summers returns to Derryfield after a year away to continue to teach some English as well as some Malone classes. Mike Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins, after teaching for a few years in Manchester Public Schools, comes to Derryfield to teach math in the middle school. Wayne Lutz. Mr. Lutz is one of joins our crew of friendly and talented bus drivers. Many of you will see him in the morning. Bob Martin. Mr. Martin actually began his tenure on the custodial staff last May. You've seen him here already last year, but I'm happy to formally introduce him here this morning. Chris Marash. Mr. Marash comes to Derryfield as our new athletic trainer. I'm sure many of you have already received some ice or some tape from him. Laura Ryland. Ms. Ryland will join Derryfield to teach upper school Spanish classes this year. Brianna Rourke. Ms. Rourke is our new school nurse, and she will also co-teach 7th grade Lee classes this year. And last but not least, Lucky 13, Caroline Wilson. Ms. Wilson, after teaching in the Breakthrough Manchester program here previously, returns as our new program director of Breakthrough Manchester. Please give all of these wonderful adults a big round of applause. Now, I know what you've all been waiting for. Mrs. King and Mr. Chappell are just the appetizers to the main attraction, which is your all-school president, Josue Perez. As all of you, or most of you know, those of you who are new don't, Josue has been actively engaged during his time here at Derryfield in a wide range of activities, most importantly in student leadership activities, contributing to the lead advisory group and serving as a Derryfield ambassador, Equity Club co-leader, PAC team member, the list goes on and on. Beyond those activities, what has impressed me the most about Josue is how warmly he has welcomed me this summer. Yes, Josue has already met with me multiple times. I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know him, and especially hearing about his role as the Bachelorette during last year's Halloween, and various new initiatives he hopes to bring to the school this year. Please join me in welcoming your all-school president, Josue Perez.
Good morning. Good morning, fellow Derryfield students, faculty, and staff. As most of you will hear about 10 times today, Welcome back to Derryfield. I hope you have all had a safe, relaxing, and sleep-heavy summer. Now, that last part is gonna get shaken up very hard after Tuesday. For all new students joining Derryfield, I am your all-school president, Josue, no middle name, Perez. A little bit about myself for our new folks. Of the past 5 all-school presidents in recent memory, I am the shortest. It has been 5 years since I entered this school, similar to our new 7th graders, and I have loved this community ever since. I have the most energy of any person in the world. Seriously, whenever school starts, I am the most extroverted and bubbly person you could possibly meet. And during this time, I sometimes get the impression that my overly happy nature makes people worried. But this optimism is not misplaced. It exists because I finally get to see so many of my friends again after not seeing them all summer. I always get excited every September when the temperature becomes just as unpredictable as Mr. Young turning into an old French woman trying to find the cosine of 60. I'm sorry. But it is a guarantee that September has that one really hot week where it's up in the 90s, and then it drops to the 60s faster than my English and math grades in 2017. Just as Ms. Blaisdell how I finished the fall midterm. It was quite bad. Fall represents transition back into routine, whether it's getting back into our 4 classes a day schedule, or whether it's wearing multiple layers because we live in New England. We have brilliant teachers who actively push students to achieve our full potential and who want to see us persevere. We also have a brilliant, dedicated new head of school, Mr. Chappell, who you've already heard a lot from, maybe even too much. It's all in good spirit, guys. He's my advisor. Hopefully for the rest of the year. After being one of the student leaders that interviewed him for the headship position last February, I knew that Mr. Chappell, if chosen, would be a trustworthy, civil, and authentic head of school. After meeting with him this summer as president, I'm confident in saying that Mr. Chappell will serve this community with respect, authenticity, and integrity for years to come. Although I will only be able to work with him for 1 year, I hope that I and all student leaders this year will be able to pave the way for all students to get to know and understand who Mr. Chappell really is. I know some of you have mispronounced his name. I encourage all students to talk and hold a small conversation with him, even if they're not in student government. I know he'll be happy to show his sarcastic but caring attitude to everyone. Derryfield is a vibrant student body, full of students who enjoy lifting up their peers. The student body is what I missed most over the summer, and I am pleased to finally be able to see the full auditorium once again. In fact, this is my first speech ever on this stage where all 400 seats are filled. The student body has chosen a leader who loves to reach out and talk to fellow students, a leader who believes in empowering students who find potential in this school. I am honored and blessed to be Señor Presidente this year. My ultimate goal is to be for you, my fellow students, an accessible, relatable president, and a president who is dedicated to preserving traditional Derryfield. Okay, come on, guys. Moving on. A fun fact about me is that my favorite talk show host is Conan O'Brien. I know I lost like 30% of you when I said talk show, because a talk show is only something you watch clips of on YouTube and not TV. It's also something your parents used to watch when they were younger, back when Jimmy Fallon wasn't a presence on TV. Conan O'Brien gave a commencement speech about an hour and 15 minutes from here in Dartmouth College on June 12, 2011. In that speech, Conan revealed that he began writing his speech in the same way with the same intensity that all students write their papers the night before. I did the same. With both this speech and my college essays, also our amazing college counselors won't get mad at me for not doing it. There is something else that's similar between my speech and Conan's. I speak to you today from a wooden podium that has clear lacquer on it, and his was a tree trunk. If you don't believe me, just look up Conan commencement speech and watch the Dartmouth one. But the main takeaway that I took from that speech was the advice that he gave at the end. Work hard, be kind, and amazing things will happen. That is my advice for all my fellow students for a successful year. It's simple, it's sound, but it's effective. I am thrilled to see what we can accomplish this year as a student body. I wish you all the best this year. The kind of awkward and annoying 11-year-old from South Porter Street could never imagine finding a place where he could use his voice, and certainly could not ever imagine himself becoming an all-school president. Everyone belongs here and has a voice at this school. This is the place where I found mine, and if you do not have a voice yet, you will find it over the course of this year. To new students, I say, you will fit right in, because the returning portion of the student body will embrace you into its big, warm family. That, I believe, is the magic that Derryfield holds. The community is the Derryfield spirit. I am once again honored and blessed to be your all-school president this year. Thank you, and let's have a great year.
So, one of the things that I love about schools are the traditions and the rituals. And so my good friend, Mr. Hutton, is here to remind us and lead us in this wonderful tradition of singing our inspiring school song. Mr. Hutton.
Sing out for Derryfield a bright and joyous song. Sing out for Derryfield and wave your banners long. In the midst of old New Hampshire, with her hearts and minds to guide her, it's the place that makes us proud. So sing out for Derryfield a bright and joyous song, for we are the Maroons, and that's where we